Hi, welcome to Square Ruth. That's my nickname and that's my show. Tonight we have with us Will Marotti, Pastor Will Marotti, pastor and founder of New Life Church in Wallingford. My husband and I have been listening to Will on the radio as a talk show host on AM 1080. And, we said to each other, we should go check out the church. And we did a couple of years ago. And now we're members, we go all the time, and it's fabulous. So I want to welcome you, Will.
Thank you.
You want to tell us more about how good it feels to be the pastor of this wonderful church?
Well, thank you for having me on, Ruth. This is
you're
a thrill and an honor. I'm glad that you thought of me. The church is in its 20th year. My wife and I founded it in 1999 with 3 other adults, and we started in our living room. And our first public service was in December of 1999. We were able to get a hold of an old pharmacy in South Meriden, the South Meriden Pharmacy, and renovated it partially, opened it as a church. And first service we went to, the whole church at that point was 12 people, 9 adults, 3 kids, and a cat. And the cat was threatening to go to the Methodist church down the street if things didn't straighten out quickly. But we had our first service December 19th, 1999. Had 106 people at the first service. And it's just been a joy ever since. So we're in technically our 4th location. And the church has grown steadily for those 20 years. And it's beyond our wildest dreams. Ann and I never thought we would see the church get to where it is now. But it's been miraculous. God has blessed us with great folks like you and Richard, and we just couldn't be happier. And it really is. It's just as exciting now as it was 20 years ago when we first started.
Wow. And you've done a lot at the church. I mean, you have a school.
Yeah.
You have a youth group on Thursday nights that meets all year, even in the summer.
Sure. Yeah. Well, the thing is, we want to be a 12-month-a-year church. A lot of churches cut back on their programs in the summertime, particularly with kids and teens, and we feel like that's the time you should ramp up because the kids and teens need something to do during the summertime. So we've always had those programs available. And we just built the school 2 years ago, but that's always been the school, oddly enough, was from the very first time that we wanted to have a church, the school was part of the plan. And we started with a daycare. We opened the daycare actually first, a preschool. And then the school came a little bit later, but the school's on, I think we started our 7th year just a few weeks ago, and George Washington Carver Academy, Carver Preschool, named after George Washington Carver, which was our daughter's idea. She had done a book report, I think, in the 5th grade on Carver, and she said she knew we wanted to start a school, and she said, "Dad, when we start the school, can we name it after George Washington Carver?" I said, "Sure, let's do that." So we did, and so that's great. The daycare is located in Wallingford on North Turnpike Road. The school, of course, is on the property with the church on the campus. And it's always exciting. It's always fun. There's always something going on at the church. 7 days a week, it seems like there's things happening at the church. One of the things that we're most excited about was the Celebrate Recovery Ministry that was started about 17 years ago. And it's a faith-based 12-step recovery program, and we've helped so many people over the years with that program. It's been a real blessing. And again, we don't, at this point, we can't operate all these things. God's given us great people, great staff. We've got as you know, a paid staff at the church, at the school, at the daycare, just wonderful people that, pull the plow together, make things work and organize things. And it's just a joy to kind of oversee it and watch it all happen and see God grow it.
You have a sense of humor when you give a sermon. And
some would argue that.
No, we really enjoy the sermons.
Yeah.
What's it like to live as a pastor, getting sermons ready for these big audiences?
Well, I have to say it's gotten easier. The preparation has gotten easier over the years, particularly where, I teach in series.
Oh, yeah.
So we'll do a series of anywhere from 4 to 6 weeks. And there's a reason for that. The series is important because, and on any given week you'll have a portion, about 65% of the congregation in that service. And then on the next Sunday, you'll have another 65%, but it won't be the same 65%. It takes about 4 to 5 weeks to get everybody that regularly attends the church to get through. So if you're trying to teach a theme, you're trying to teach a concept, if you just do it 1 week, you're going to miss most of the congregation. So you really need to do it in series, and the repetition is what really helps teach and get the themes and the concepts across. The humor part, part of it is I just like horsing around. I just like fooling around, having fun. But I think of that great biblical prophet who once said a spoonful of sugar helps the medicine go down. So
biblical prophet.
A little laughter helps, with the points, and particularly when they're difficult things that are, God wants to challenge us. God loves us. He loves us just the way we are, and He'll accept us just the way we are. But He loves us so much He doesn't want us to stay the way we are. He wants us to grow and develop and mature spiritually. And some of those are hard steps for folks to take. So I think the laughter kind of helps gets the point across without being too difficult.
Yeah, and it gives variety. You have all kinds of variety there.
Yeah, very diverse congregation. We have a diversity generationally. We have 18-year-olds and 80-year-olds. We have a diverse congregation ethnically. So it's a challenge. It's a challenge to try to meet all those different groups and do it in a way that they feel like they're being matured spiritually.
Or you just have to walk into the group, whether it's in the dining area or in the church hall itself, and you feel people are being nurtured there spiritually.
Well, it's good to hear that.
Oh, yeah.
You don't know sometimes. Sometimes it takes time to see what the results are. But as you know, we want to connect people together. Churches are, particularly larger churches, you can, if you want to, you can hide in a large church. You can be the first one in, last one in, and the first one out, and nobody ever know your name. I got in a lot of trouble early on when I was doing a newspaper interview. And we were talking about this concept of people connecting and knowing one another and spending time with each other. It says in Proverbs, as iron sharpens iron, so does a friend sharpen a friend. We grow better in relationship than we do as solo in islands. And so I did a newspaper interview, and I made the comment of how I thought churches should be more like the series Cheers. If you remember Cheers years ago, and where everybody knows your name, and we talked about the bar. Well, how it came out in the article was, the reporter wrote, well, Marotti says churches should be more like bars. I got a lot of flack from local pastors on that one.
Man.
Really wasn't the intention, but the goal was we really want to connect people together, and so however we can do that, we try. And food's a big part of what we do, and we feel like it's easier for folks to get to know one another when they're holding a cup of coffee in between them. There's something about safe space and barriers. And so when we can break bread together and enjoy coffee with one another, it seems like it cultivates that spirit of connectivity and relationship and fellowship, which is really a big part of our church culture.
Well, you have a massive kitchen.
Yeah.
And then Sunday mornings, you don't just have coffee in.
Oh, man.
I mean,
yeah.
this is bacon, egg, and cheese. And this is, at the end, you'll have a whole lunch with rice and beans and... Well,
we try to mix it up, and our director, Joe Virgo, is our cafe director, and it's amazing when you see all that goes on back there. There's one paid staff person, everybody else is volunteer. And so after the first two services on Sunday, we have 3 services on Sunday, after the first two services, they'll do like a breakfast menu, and then they completely switch it up and do a lunch menu after the third service. So the work is amazing, and the quality of the food, is wonderful. And again, the building itself lends to that because of what it was prior, the old Mountainside, Mountain Ridge property.
Yeah.
It lends to that kind of food service thing, and we're licensed, and we get inspected by the health department every quarter, just like a regular restaurant kitchen would be. And our guys just do a great job, and it's all about the food at New Life Church.
I know, it's all about being holistic when you're taking care of people, and you go from table to table, talking with people grabbing, hey, Will, Pastor Will. A lot of people call you Pastor Will all the time. Yeah.
I've never been big on titles. I figure people just figure it out.
Yeah.
Who's the guy over there? Who's the pastor? Okay. No, I just feel like if you can get people to connect in that environment, they're going to like each other. And when they get to know each other and like each other, they're going to worship better together. They're going to serve better together. The church is going to be happier. And as a church, we talk about the church as an organism, because the church isn't a building, the church is the people.
Yeah.
But when people are together and they're connecting and they're laughing and they're enjoying one another, you're going to have a healthier church. So that's what we've strived for over these years. And I think so far God's blessed us, and we've hit that balance.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's palpable. We got to talk about the radio, but I really want to hear about the racing.
The racing.
Oh, you are a racing enthusiast.
Yeah.
How many times have you been to the Indy 500?
Oh, I don't even know.
Like
I haven't missed an Indy 500 since either watching it, being there, listening on the radio since 1969. So,
Wow.
from the time I was a little kid, I always wanted to be two things in life. I only had two desires growing up. I either wanted to be an astronaut or a race car driver. And when I found out how long you had to be in school to be an astronaut, I said, well, that's not going to work. I wasn't the best student. And the racing, quite frankly, I did racing when I first got out of school. I went to a driver school, Skip Barber driver school at Lime Rock, and competed for a while. But I never had the money, never had the resource, didn't understand the whole sponsorship concept. So, just became a fan and was a great fan for a number of years. And enjoyed it, loved it, still do. I mean, there's a couple of places and I think this might be true for a lot of people. There's a couple of places that you may go in life that kind of transport you back to your childhood. Fenway Park is one. When I go to Fenway Park, I instantly go back to childhood because I've been a Red Sox fan for so long, and I love the Red Sox. But when I go to the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, it takes me back to my childhood. It takes me back to those days of youth, and when I as a young boy just fell in love with racing. And I never thought I'd be involved beyond the fan level, because I'm a pastor now and I've got the responsibility of the church. But in 2015, we were having, we have some events at our church. I was inspired by the testimony of a man there at the church. And as he was telling me his story, which also oddly enough involved racing, I just said, man, if God could do that for him, maybe God could do that for me. And so, we started praying about it and talking about it. And it was at Indianapolis 2015 that we made the decision that we would try to form a team and be part of the next year race, because in 2016 they were having the 100th running of the Indianapolis 500. And against all odds and against what everybody said couldn't be done, God just really guided us to the right people and the right team. And so we were a co-entrant on a car in the running of the 2016 500, and it was one of the greatest joys of my life. Able to bring my family out and friends, and we did well. We did well. Our driver Oriel Servia qualified very well in the front half of the field, and with 4 laps to go, we were running in 4th place.
Oh.
And everybody in that group was having fuel consumption issues. Everybody was concerned they were going to run out of fuel. And our engineer said we had to come in we'd only had 2 more laps, we would run out of fuel. I wanted to keep them out there and kind of roll the dice, so to speak, because you never know what could happen. But we came in, and the winner of the race that year, Alexander Rossi, ran out of fuel coming off the last corner and literally coasted across the finish line. And won the race out of gas. And, we wonder what might have happened if we had left our driver Oriel out there. But Oriel was fantastic. The car performed well. And so, we finished 12th our first year out, which wasn't too bad.
Wow.
So we were thankful. But the experience was amazing. And being able to have my family there and friends was amazing. It was amazing.
Wow.
So we're still competing. We're still wanting to compete in 2020. We're supporting a driver from Connecticut now, young 21-year-old Santino Ferrucci from Woodbury, and we're looking for sponsors. And it's a never-ending journey looking for the sponsors, because it takes a significant investment to put a team together and compete at that level.
Yeah, and you travel for this too.
I do. I'll be traveling. A few weeks I'll be traveling out to Monterey, California for the finale of the IndyCar season. and Santino is in the running for Rookie of the Year. So we're cheering him on and hoping that he does well and comes away with that title. It's very impressive, very significant for a driver to win that. We had one driver from Connecticut that was, I think the last driver that won the Rookie of the Year for Indianapolis, which Santino won this year in 2019, was a gentleman named Denny Zimmerman, and he won in 1971. So that's how long ago it's been since we've had a drive. Of course, we have in the other series called NASCAR. I'm gonna chew up the time with racing if you let me. But
that's
in
fine.
the other series of NASCAR, we have from Middletown Joey Logano, who has won the championship and is a great driver and a great guy. And so we've got now the potential of having 2 champion drivers from Connecticut, which is pretty exciting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
How do you keep all this separate in your head? Or does it all blend for you?
No, I tried to explain. My wife and I were just talking about, Ann and I were just talking about this the other day. I don't know how it's possible, but I have anywhere from 3 to 6 streams of thought happening at the same time in my mind. And sometimes I'll wake up in the middle of the night, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, with thoughts of either church, oh, there's an idea for a sermon series, or, oh, we got to get that taken care of in the church and the ministry, or, oh, there's a racing sponsor we should contact. And so I'll get up and I'll always have my phone and I'll take notes while I'm up, or I'll just go and pray. I'm just constantly thinking, constantly. And again, I just thank God, thank you, Jesus. I'm able to keep these things, you know, the church and the radio and racing, I'm able to keep them separate in my mind, although they're continual streams of thought. It's interesting.
Seems like you thrive on all that.
I do. I don't know that I would be happy not staying busy, you know, all the time at that level. I seem to be wired that way, and I just recently had my physical exam, and although, you know, I should lose a few pounds, my doctor gives me a clean bill of health. Dr. Richard Williamson here in Cheshire, been my doctor for years, and you know, again, you can only say thank you to God. Only God can give you years of life and health, and as you know. And so I'm very thankful that you know, for the genes I inherited from my parents, you know, are just good. My dad still works in his 80s. He still works every day, and you know, we're just wired that way. You know, we're just wired.
Were you always multi-interested in many things growing up?
Yeah, I've never been able to land on just one thing. I've always had multiple interests going on. Even as a teenager, I had multiple interests in things like that. So.
And something that fascinates me is how you can talk with people on different topics on the radio and make people feel valued, whether their opinion is opposite to what you're saying and so forth.
Everybody's opinion is important, you know, and you want to value everybody. And I sometimes enjoy the radio when I get callers that disagree with me, because I want their opinion to be valued. I want them to feel like they're getting a hearing, and so. You know, but I feel that way at church. I feel that way that everybody's opinion has to be valued. I mean, certainly I know what I believe, and I'm confident about what I believe, and I'm not willing to not share it. But I think other people have to feel valued at the same time, even if we disagree. And so I welcome opposing phone calls on the radio. Not so much racing. But yeah, it's so important that people feel valued. It's so important that people want their voice heard.
Yeah.
And they need to have that. Even if you disagree, they need to feel like their opinion matters and that their thoughts matter, and they have an opportunity to share that. And I think that's in any aspect of life. I think that's very important. Even baseball. You know. Baseball. Yeah. We may differ in baseball, but you know, people want to talk about, you know, what is important to them. You know, and so I try always to value their opinion and what's important to them, and we may disagree, but I'm with you. I support you in your opinion and your value, you know, as a person.
I forget what you said once that made people talk more calmly and politely on your show, on your radio show. Something about, we don't hammer into each other here, we express our views.
Yeah.
I forget how you said it.
Well, it's just, I think sometimes, you know, conflict is not bad.
True.
You know, conflict is not bad, but it's how you manage it and how you express it. And when you start, you know, when you start trying to dominate somebody else, you try to sort of overcome, you know, I think that's the line where we have to be very careful that we can disagree, but we have to be polite about it. We can disagree, we have to do it agreeably. And that's hard with politics. You know, we're in a very divided time right now, and it's painful to see how our, you know, we had our 9/11 service last night, and it's all about unity. And I tell people for years that you check your politics at the door. You know, I'm a very conservative person. I've been that way my entire life. The first presidential election, I voted for Ronald Reagan. You know, I that's who I am. You know, but I can respect someone else, another opinion, and I think we have to be careful to share those things politely. We don't want to offend one another. I mean, let's have a debate on the issues, but let's not call into question other people's character or motivation. It's so hard to know that. How can I know what's motivating you inside? I don't have a machine that I can hold up to you and judge your motivations. So you have to be very careful to respect that of other people and not get into those kind of personal battles.
Yeah.
I think it's important to stay out of.
And you even invite opposing opinions when you're saying, all right, we need some callers on this.
Sure.
On either side of this issue is fine.
Yeah, I think it's so important. And, you know, and who wants to listen to the same thing all the time, right?
That's true.
We don't want to just hear all the same, you know, opinion of this. I mean, it's nice to have opposing viewpoints come in and allow people to express it. I get criticized sometimes on the radio show because I let the opposing people, you let them have more time. Well, I want them to have more time. I want them to be able to express their thoughts. I don't want to just hear me or where all the people are agreeing on the same topic constantly. Anybody can do that. Let's bring some other folks in that don't agree and let's have a discussion about it. So, yeah, I think the opposing viewpoints are critically important to the success of the show.
I wish they had it in schools more. I had a professor at Albertus. I had Larry DeNardis teaching me American government. And he said a teacher should never let their students know who they voted for.
Yeah, I think that's true.
Your class should be a forum of ideas.
Yeah.
And let the ideas clash, and everyone is welcome to express what they believe in.
I think we're losing that. We've lost that in public education. I think too much now the opinions and the thoughts and the political persuasion of teachers and particularly professors, just too prevalent in school. And I think school should be, whether it's primary school or secondary or college, it ought to be a forum where ideas are debated. And then allow the students to make their decisions based on what they're hearing. And I don't think that's happening as much anymore. I'm very concerned about it, and I wish there was more open debate, particularly at the college level.
Yeah, debate. The skill of debate is important.
Well, critical thinking has really diminished. I mean, we're not teaching our students how to think, and we do at Carver Academy. Our principal, Chris Bellmare, is very concerned about critical thinking. I think you don't want to develop a culture where everybody has the flock mentality and has to go one way and has to believe one thing and has to all agree. I don't think the country was founded that way. I don't think the country developed that way, and I don't think it's healthy long term for the culture.
That's true.
Where we silence speech, we silence thought. I mean, there's a lot of things that happen I don't agree with, but I think they have to be voiced and they have to be heard. And we need to be able to feel free to debate those things without being labeled, without being belittled, without being shamed. And I don't know if a lot of that's happening nowadays, and it's very concerning to me.
I know. We need to be part of the revolution that brings that back.
Yeah, I really believe so. Having
been a teacher for many years, I know things go in waves.
Sure.
The pendulum swings back and forth. Maybe they'll realize how important that is.
Well, it's frustrating to me that we say we value free speech, but sometimes it's only free speech as long as you agree with the opposing side, and then if you don't agree with that, you get labeled, and I don't think that's healthy. I don't think it's good developmentally.
Well, the health of listening to a talk show that invites both sides, as opposed to a lot of the media where it's only talking on one side.
Yeah.
It's good. And I was in debate club all through high school and college. And we would have to switch sides we'd have to argue for the affirmative, like should there be
Sure.
world government, or should labor unions have more laws and so forth on them. And then we had to switch and convince the judge that the other side was valid. And that was so important to me. It mixed up my head quite a bit, but it's healthy.
But it's healthy, and it stretches you. It makes you grow. You
Yes.
need to know what the opposing side. I tell folks all the time, like, oh, you just watch Fox News. No, that's not true. I watch other channels, and more so because I want to understand. I want to try to understand why do you take that position? Why do you hold that position? It might be different from mine, but I want to understand it.
Yeah.
I want to know why you think that way. And I think it strengthens me to know that.
Yes,
You
to
know,
test
so
out.
I'm
what
not
you think.
afraid to look over the fence, so to speak.
Yeah.
And see what the other side might believe on an issue different than the side I take, certainly.
Yeah, right. To teach people to look over the fence. You know?
I had my mentor for all these years, 35 years, as Fred Massey. He's a pastor. Fred's always taught me to not be afraid to look over the fence. Find out what other people are thinking. Find out how other people are doing things. And, so I've grown up that way, certainly in my ministry.
Oh, yeah.
And I really appreciate that, being taught that, because I don't have a fear of it. I don't have a fear of going into another environment or
It's good.
getting conversation with people who are, maybe vastly different how I think or believe. I look forward to those times.
You're being a role model to get people to do that
I hope
themselves.
so. I hope so.
We got to end soon.
But it's going by quickly.
I know. New Life Church in Wallingford.
Yep.
One of
350
your-
High Hill Road, Wallingford, Connecticut.
Yeah, one of your teachers, Ben,
Yeah.
was saying, well, to remember this, do some research, and you'll see it's Research Parkway.
Yeah.
And Jesus was a carpenter. You turn right on Carpenter Road.
Road.
He died on a high
High
hill.
hills.
So it's 350 High Hill Road in Wallingford.
Right.
And morning News Talk 1080.
WTIC News Talk 1080 is the radio, and newlifechurchct.com is the website. Marotti Racing.
MarottiRacing.com.
If they want
Good.
to enjoy that, sure.
Well, thank you for being here on my show.
Yeah, thank you so much for asking me.
Oh, so good. All right. And thank you all for being with us.